Ancient Egypt, a civilization in northeastern Africa dating back to 4000 BCE, boasts remarkable achievements evident in its art and monuments. Ongoing archaeological discoveries unveil its mysteries, captivating the interest of enthusiasts. This overview spans from Egypt's prehistoric roots to its consolidation under Menes, Narmer, in the 3000s BCE, a key milestone often cited for Egypt's origins. Introduction to ancient Egyptian civilization. Ancient Egypt, nestled along the Nile River, flourished due to its reliance on annual floods for farming. Its prosperity stemmed from the fertile Nile Delta and nearby lands. The river served as the primary mode of transportation. Geographically, a boundary at the First Cataract marked the limit, with the Nubian region to the south and the Sahara Desert to the west. The Eastern Desert facilitated trade, connecting Egypt to the Red Sea and valuable minerals. The Isthmus of Suez played a vital role in trade with Sinai and southwestern Asia, attracting immigrants and invaders. Egypt traded with Byblos, obtaining timber from Lebanon and minerals from distant places like Anatolia and Afghanistan. Farming centered on crops like emmer wheat, barley, and basin irrigation. The surplus from fertile lands made Egypt prosperous until the first millennium BCE. The Nile's floods expanded arable land, diminishing pastoralism, and fish, crucial for sustenance, were abundant. Marshes provided papyrus for writing, and animals, including cattle and donkeys, played essential roles. Egyptians, likely descended from early settlers, coexisted with immigrants from Nubia, Libya, and the Middle East. Villages along the Nile comprised mud brick houses with populations rising over time. Agriculture was pivotal, tying most people to the land. Land theoretically belonged to the king, but residents were not easily displaced. Craftsmanship and stone building thrived, exemplified by the Great Pyramids. Family structures varied between urban and rural settings, and women enjoyed a legal status comparable to men. Uneven wealth distribution correlated with Egypt's partially urban society, focusing resources around the king and capital. Egypt's enduring popularity comes from its focus on the grandeur of the human experience. The monuments, tombs, temples, and artwork celebrate life and remind us of what humans can achieve. Although ancient Egypt is often associated with death, even in their mortuary rites, there's a connection to the human experience and the power of remembrance. The written history of Egypt begins around 3400 to 3200 BCE, when hieroglyphic script is developed by the Naqada culture III. To the Egyptians, life on earth was just one part of an eternal journey. They believed the soul was immortal, and after death, a person would face judgment. If justified, they would go to an eternal paradise called the Field of Reeds, mirroring their life on earth. This eternal life was reserved for those who lived well, according to the God's will in the perfect place. Egypt. Egypt's history goes back beyond written records, stories of gods, or famous monuments. Evidence of a thriving civilization dates back to about 8000 BCE, with overgrazing of cattle in what is now the Sahara Desert. Hunter-gatherer nomads settled by the Nile River Valley around 6000 BCE, starting organized farming. Different cultures like the Badarian, Amratian, Gurzean, and Naqada contributed to Egyptian civilization. The written history starts around 3400 to 3200 BCE with the development of hieroglyphic script. By 3500 BCE, mummification was practiced and large stone tombs were built. Urban centers developed from small agrarian communities, shaping the rich history of Egypt. Early history of Egypt. During the early dynastic period in Egypt, around 3050 to 2613 BCE, the North and South kingdoms were joined together under King Menes of Upper Egypt. He conquered Lower Egypt around 3118 BCE or 3150 BCE. This information comes from the Egyptica, History of Egypt, by the ancient historian Manetho, who lived in the 3rd century BCE. Even though some later historians disagree with his timeline, people still refer to his work for information on the early history of ancient Egypt. Manetho mentioned Menes and the conquest, but today it's believed that Menes might actually be King Narmer, who peacefully united Upper and Lower Egypt. Some also think Menes could be King Horaha, who came after Narmer. It's possible that Menes is more of an honorary title, meaning he who endures, rather than a personal name, so it could refer to more than one king. The idea that the land was unified through a military campaign is questioned because the Narmer palette, which shows a military victory, might be considered more like royal propaganda by some scholars. There's a possibility that the country was first united peacefully, although this isn't certain. In ancient Egypt, the direction of the Nile River determined the geographical regions. Upper Egypt was in the south and Lower Egypt was in the north, closer to the Mediterranean Sea. Narmer ruled from the city of Hierakonpolis and later from Memphis and Abydos. Trade increased a lot during the early dynastic period, and people started building elaborate mastaba tombs, which were early versions of the later pyramids. Egyptian burial practices also became more sophisticated, including advanced mummification techniques. The Old Kingdom and the First Intermediate Period. In ancient Egypt, during a time called the Old Kingdom, around 2613 to 181 BCE, people built impressive structures to honor their gods. Some of the most famous ones, like the pyramids and the Great Sphinx of Giza, were constructed during this period. King Djoser, who ruled around 2670 BCE, had the first step pyramid built at Saqqara by his chief architect and physician Imhotep. Imhotep, a clever person, also wrote one of the earliest medical texts that talked about treating over 200 diseases and suggested that sickness could come from natural causes, not just the god's will. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, built during Khufu's reign, 2589-2566 BCE, is one of the most well-known pyramids. Others, like the pyramids of Khafra, 2558-2532 BCE, and Menkaure, 2532-2503 BCE, were built later. The pyramids on the Giza Plateau originally looked very impressive, covered in shiny white limestone. This showed how powerful and wealthy the rulers were during that time. People have many ideas about how these monuments were built, but architects and scholars today don't agree on just one theory. Some think the technology at the time shouldn't have allowed such big monuments, while others believe there might have been advanced technology that we've lost over time. Contrary to some stories, there's no proof that the Giza monuments or any others in Egypt were built by slave labor. Most scholars today reject the idea that the pyramids and other structures were built by slaves. Although there were slaves of different nationalities in Egypt, they usually worked in the mines. The construction of Egyptian monuments was seen as a public project for the state, and both skilled and unskilled Egyptian workers were involved, getting paid for their work. Workers at the Giza site, one of many construction sites, were even given beer 3 times a day, and their housing, tools, and healthcare have been well documented. In ancient Egypt, there was a time called the First Intermediate Period, around 2181-2040 BCE, when the central government became weak and collapsed. Different districts in Egypt started doing their own thing with their own governors. 2 big centers, Hierakonpolis in Lower Egypt and Thebes in Upper Egypt, emerged. They had their own rulers and sometimes fought each other until around 2040 BCE, when the Theban king Mentuhotep II defeated Hierakonpolis and united Egypt under Thebes. The Middle Kingdom and the Second Intermediate Period. The Middle Kingdom, 2040-1782 BCE, is considered Egypt's classical age. The rulers from Thebes brought stability, and during this time art and culture reached great heights. Thebes became the most important and richest city in Egypt. The kings of the 12th dynasty, like Amenemhat I and Senruset I, controlled not only all of Egypt but also Nubia to the south, where they built forts to protect trade. However, the 13th dynasty was weaker and there were internal problems. This allowed a group called the Hyksos, probably from Syria-Palestine, to take power in Lower Egypt around 1720 BCE. This time is known as the Second Intermediate Period, around 1782 or 1570 BCE. The Hyksos weren't liked by the Egyptians, but they brought improvements like the composite bow, the horse and the chariot, as well as advancements in farming and metalworks. While the Hyksos controlled Lower Egypt, the kingdom of Kush rose in the south of Nubia. The Egyptians tried to kick the Hyksos out and control the Nubians, but they failed until Prince Ahmose, first of Thebes, around 1570-1544 BCE, succeeded. He unified the country under Theban rule. The New Kingdom. Ahmose first started the New Kingdom of Egypt around 1570 BCE, bringing prosperity and a strong central government. The rulers during this time were called pharaohs instead of kings. Many famous structures like the Ramesseum, Abu Simbel, Karnak and Luxor temples, and the Valley of the Kings and Valley of the Queens tombs were built or improved during the New Kingdom. Between 1504 to 1492 BCE, Pharaoh Thutmose I expanded Egypt's boundaries to the Euphrates River in the north, Syria, Palestine and Nubia. Queen Hatshepsut expanded trade, especially with the land of Punt, and brought peace and prosperity to Egypt. Her successor, Thutmose III, kept her policies and made Egypt a powerful nation. During this time, there were improvements in medicine, and people had more leisure time for sports. Bathing, already a daily routine, became more elaborate for leisure. The Kahun gynecological papyrus about women's health was widely used. Surgery and dentistry were practiced skillfully, and beer was prescribed for over 200 ailments. In 1353 BCE, Pharaoh Amenhotep IV, later Akhenaten, changed Egypt's religious beliefs to worship one god, Aten. This period, known as the Amarna period, shifted the capital to Amarna and banned polytheistic customs. Akhenaten focused on his religious reforms, neglecting foreign policy and the needs of the people. His son, Tutankhamun, restored the ancient temples, returned the capital to Thebes, and removed references to his father's single deity. Tutankhamun's reign was cut short by his death, and he is best known for his intact tomb discovered in 1922 CE. The greatest ruler of the New Kingdom was Rameses II, also known as Rameses the Great, who ruled from 1279 to 1213 BCE. He started impressive building projects and ruled efficiently. Even though the Battle of Kadesh in 1274 BCE with the Hittites was seen as a draw, Rameses considered it a victory and celebrated himself as a champion and eventually a god in his public works. Rameses II built the Temple of Abu Simbel, depicting the Battle of Kadesh for his queen Nefertari. Another temple at the site, following the example of Akhenaten, was dedicated to Rameses's favorite queen. During his reign, the world's first peace treaty, the Treaty of Kadesh, was signed in 1258 BCE. Egypt became very wealthy, with many monuments built or restored. Rameses II's fourth son, Khemweset, is known as the first Egyptologist for preserving and recording old monuments. Thanks to him, Rameses II's name is seen in many ancient sites. Khemweset left records of his efforts, the original builders and his father's name. Rameses II, known as the Great Ancestor, outlived most of his children and wives. He lived for 96 years, more than double the average lifespan of an ancient Egyptian. When he died, people were scared, thinking the world might end, as they had only known him as their ruler, and Egypt had been different. The decline of Egypt and the Macedonian invasion. After Rameses II, his successor Rameses III continued his policies. However, Egypt's wealth attracted the Sea Peoples, possibly from the southern Aegean area, who attacked along the coast between 1276–1178 BCE. Despite earlier victories against them, Rameses III had to fight them off again between 1180–1178 BCE, finally defeating them at the Battle of Zuas in 1178 BCE. After Rameses III, his successors faced resistance from the people, those in conquered territories, and especially the priestly class. The power and wealth of the priests of Amun had grown so much that it threatened the central government. By the time of Rameses VII, around 1107 to 1077 BCE, Egypt weakened and the government collapsed, leading to the Third Intermediate Period from about 1069 to 525 BCE. The Kushite king Pir unified Egypt again, but the Assyrians invaded in 6071 BCE, conquering it by 66 BCE. The Persians occupied Egypt until Alexander the Great arrived in 332 BCE, welcomed as a liberator. After Alexander's death, Ptolemy I founded the Ptolemaic dynasty in 323 BCE. Cleopatra VII, the last of the Ptolemies, committed suicide in 30 BCE after losing to the Romans under Octavian Caesar at the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire, then the Byzantine Empire, until the Arab Muslims, led by Caliph Umar, conquered it in 646 CE, placing it under Islamic rule. Rediscovery of Egypt's past in the 18th and 19th centuries CE has profoundly impacted our understanding of ancient history. The Egyptian belief in life as an eternal journey influenced later cultures and religious beliefs, including Christianity. Egyptian civilization's power is evident in how it continues to inspire art, literature, and even religious beliefs today. In conclusion, the ancient Egyptian civilization stands as a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and cultural richness. From the grandeur of the pyramids to the fertile banks of the Nile, Egypt's legacy endures through the sands of time. Exploring the complexities of their agriculture, trade, and societal structures reveals a civilization that thrived for millennia. Join me on this journey through the remnants of an empire that shaped the course of history. If you found this exploration intriguing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more fascinating insights into our world's remarkable past. Thanks for watching.